أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 42 of Surah An-Nisa. يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض وَلَا يَكْتُمُونَ اللَّهَ حَدِيثًا. On that day, those who are faithless and who disobeyed the messenger will wish the earth were leveled with them, and they will not conceal any matter from Allah. Now, what day is that? يَوْمَئِذٍ, on that day. This refers to the previous verse. If you remember, the previous verse said, فكيف إذا جئنا من كل أمة بشهيد وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيدا. What will happen on that day? On a day when we bring forth from every nation a witness, and we bring you forth as a witness over these, ala haula, which we discussed the different meanings and reference for haula. That day is so dramatic, it is so grievous, that the kuffar, the faithless, and those who disobeyed the Prophet would like that they were leveled with the earth. There's one hadith which says that once Abdullah ibn Mas'ud asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, to recite the Quran for him as just making his recitation correct. So he started to recite Surah An-Nisa until he came to this verse. فكيف إذا جئنا من كل أمة بشهيد وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيدا. And he says, I saw that tears were flowing down the Prophet's eyes. If the witness, the Prophet, cries, remembering that day, imagining that day, then what about those who he is going to offer witness against? So it should be so dramatic, and that's why he says on that day, يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوَدُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَعَصَوُا الرَّسُولَ, those who were faithless and disobeyed the messenger. Now, this sort of dual expression of kufr and isyan al-Rasul shows that isyan al-Rasul here is not referring to whatever is in the Quran or Sharia, because kufr or disbelief is enough to say that they did not follow the Sharia or what is in the Quran. This is referring, Asawur Rasul, disobeyed the messenger, refers to him as the leader of the society, as one who possesses authority. So not only the believers at the time of the Prophet had to follow the Quran, the Sharia, whatever was revealed to the Prophet, they had to follow him as a leader as well. Whatever he said, besides what the Quran had revealed to him or what the Sharia said. So, يَوَدُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَعَصَوُا الرَّسُولَ means those who were disbelievers and those who believed but disobeyed the Prophet. Now, this may refer to the munafiqun of the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, or some weak faith, those with weak faith that many a time questioned why the Prophet says this, why does he command this, and sometimes they disobeyed. And it may refer to us as well, because the Prophet had, although at his time he had the authority to command or prohibit certain things because of the situation, we may also think that if we were at the time of the Prophet, what responsibility you would have had in the face of different matters which are happening in our world. So anyhow, in Tafsir Anwar al-Tanzil, Al-Baydawi says, يَوَدُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَعَصَوُا الرَّسُولَ may mean those who combine between kufr and isyan, or those who separately were kuffar, or those who were Muslimun and disobeyed the messenger. So this is the situation. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوَدُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَعَصَوُا الرَّسُولَ لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ if the earth was leveled, or if they were leveled with the earth, or the earth was leveled with them. لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ. It may mean a couple of things. لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ. It may mean that they would have liked that on that day they would have been buried under the earth. After they were resurrected, they would have been buried under the earth and they were leveled with the earth. Or they would wish that they never had been resurrected, and as they were already leveled with the earth, they wish if they were not resurrected at all. Or because initially we are created from dust, they from the earth, they wish that they were never created and they were just dust as they were before the creation. So it may mean three things. لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ according to Al-Baydawi. One is that on that day when they are resurrected and they see the witnesses coming forth and testifying against them, that they die and be buried again, or that they were not resurrected at all, or that they were not created at all. These are the different meanings which have been suggested for لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ if the earth was leveled with them. And this is in accordance with some other verses of the Quran, like the verse which the kuffar would say, وَيَقُولُ الْكَافِرُ يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ تُرَابًا. On that day, the kafir would say, I wish I was just soil and dust. It means I was not created at all. There is one hadith which, although it is not correct according to some scholars, but have been brought here as a witness of what لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ may mean. The hadith says that because it's the day of justice and justice must be established, must be fulfilled, so anyone, any animal, any human being, any jinn who has wronged another must come forth and receive the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this happens for the animals as well, as we have in the Quran that an animal with a horn who has hit an animal without the horn will be brought to justice on that day. I mean, the animals also have understanding, as everything in this world has understanding and intelligence. They can comprehend things, and that's why they make decisions. I mean, look at the dogs and cats. They really make decisions, and to say that they have no decision making at all is absolutely against the experience. So when they make a decision which is wrong, against justice that they understand, they have to pay for it. They have to stand, they have to be responsible for what they have done. So on the day of justice, when justice of Allah reveals itself, these animals will be brought forth and the justice will be done, the right of the wronged animal will be taken from the animal which has wronged them, and then they will be dust again. They will be vanished, actually. They just come forth for existence. They are resurrected for justice to be done, and then they become soil again as they were before. And this is narrated in one hadith. The hadith is not reliable, and there is no purpose for such a thing, actually. However, they say that لو تصوى بهم الأرض, they wished if the earth was level with them, is when they see the animals. After the justice is done, they are level with the earth again. And that's all. Of course, as I said, the correct belief is that the animals, if they are resurrected, they will live as well for eternity. However, the hadith says, which has been brought as a sort of witness for this expression, لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ, the hadith says that after the animals become dust and are level with the earth, the kuffar of human beings would also wish that if they were like those animals who vanish and become level with the earth. Anyhow, the meaning is clear. يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض. That they wished that if the earth was leveled with them. ولا يكتمون الله حديثا, and they will not conceal any matter from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this وَلَا يَكْتُمُونَ اللَّهَ حَدِيثًا, depending on how we interpret this waw, how we connect it to the previous expressions, or we regard it as an independent sentence, would give different meanings. If we say that it is a conjunctive joining this sentence to لَوْ تُسَوَّى بِهِمُ الْأَرْضِ, they wished that the earth was level with them, and they wished that they had not concealed anything. وَلَا يَكْتُمُونَ اللَّهَ حَدِيثًا, they wished that they would not have concealed anything. Why? Because when they are asked why you were mushrikun, why you did not sincerely worship Allah, they say, Wallahi Rabbina ma kunna mushrikin. We swear by God that we were not mushrikun. We were not polytheists. We were not making any partners for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, after they make such a statement, their body parts would begin testifying against them. The angels would begin testifying against them, and the prophets would be brought forth to testify. And after they see these testimonies, they wish that they had not concealed it. They had not denied it. So this وَلَا يَكْتُمُونَ اللَّهَ حَدِيثًا is conjoined to the previous sentence. يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض ولا يكتمون الله حديثا. They wished that the earth was leveled with them, and they wished that they had not concealed anything. This is one meaning. The other meaning is that they wished that they were leveled with the earth before they had concealed in their inner self the mission of the Prophet and had rejected it. They wished they were leveled with the earth before they had rejected the message of the Prophet. لو تسوى بهم الأرض ولا يكتمون الله حديثا. The other possibility is that this sentence is independent from the previous sentence. So they call this waw, technically, waw al-istinaf, means initiating a new sentence. So this is not connected to the previous sentence. It's initiating a new sentence. It's independent and means that they cannot conceal anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's none of their actions in this world is not hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they confess to whatever they have done. Or it may mean that although they, by speech, by tongue, they may conceal things, but when the limbs testify against them, when Allah is aware of what is in their hearts, how can they conceal anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? لا يكتمون الله حديثا ولا يكتمون الله حديثا. Okay, this is about verse 42. يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض ولا يكتمون الله حديثا. On that day, those who are faithless and disobeyed the apostle, the messenger, will wish the earth were leveled with them, and they will not conceal any matter from Allah. Now, these verses, this set of verses continue after verse 43. Verse 43 is just an interjection between the flow of these verses. And the commentators have discussed why verse 43, which talks about salat and ablution, just comes in the middle of these verses. If you look at the Quran, here we have the situation in which Allah is talking about the day of judgment, that they should believe and spend in the way of Allah, and Allah will not wrong anyone in their spendings, and if it is little, He will multiply it, and on the day of judgment we will have witnesses, and if anyone has denied and rejected, the witnesses will testify against them. And then verse number 44 talks about those who were given a share of the book, but they sold it for misguidance, and talking about the Jews who had the Torah, and the previous verses were also alluding to the Jews as well. But this verse here, verse 43, is not related to any of these. Now, several views have been suggested for that. One is that, of course, not all these verses were revealed at once, and then the Prophet had the Prophet told to the compilers of the Quran where to place a verse which was revealed independently. But even that, if that is the case, a verse which is absolutely unrelated, why should have Prophet commanded that? The other view is that the Quran reveals in a flow, but suddenly something may happen while the Quran is being revealed. Some question may come up by the Prophet or by others, and then a revelation answers that, because it is not a written book. It is in the style of a speech, and suddenly in the middle of a speech, for example, something happens, and the speaker would talk about that briefly and then go back to his topic and subject. Like, for example, in Surah Al-Qiyamah, when Allah is talking about the day of judgment and that everyone will be resurrected, and suddenly it says, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Do not rush in recitation of the Quran before we have revealed its words for you. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. The Prophet feared that he may forget, and he was repeating after the Jibreel, and Allah says, you don't need to do that. We have guaranteed that for you, that you will never forget. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. And then it goes back to the topic of resurrection and qiyamah. And here some suggest that this is the case. Suddenly something about salat and wuzu have come up, and then the revelation has come about it, and the verses continue after that. Or a better explanation is that the revelation of these verses end in verse number 42. And then a question comes up in a couple of days' time, and Allah answers that in the same surah, and then continues with the topic of the previous verses. So what I meant to say is that we should not regard this particular verse 43, connected to the previous verses or the verses which follow. Anyhow, the verse 43 says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا إلا عابري سبيل حتى تغتسلوا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا. O you who have faith, do not approach prayer when you are intoxicated, not until you know what you are saying, nor in the state of ritual impurity, except while passing through, until you have washed yourselves. But if you are sick or on a journey, or any of you has come from the toilet, or you have touched women, and you cannot find water, then make your ablution on clean ground, and wipe a part of your faces and your hands. Indeed, Allah is all excusing, all forgiving. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَفُوًّا غَفُورًا. Now, some commentators say that the reason for revelation of this verse was that some of the companions, despite verses which were talking about prohibition of the alcohol, they continued using it, drinking it, with some interpretation that it may not be completely haram. It may be makruh, it may not be good, but not prohibited. So it says that the hadith says that, this is from Sunni sources, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf had arranged a party with other companions, called some companions to a party, while the khamr, the alcohol, was still allowed to drink. Now, as I have said before, right from the beginning of Islam, everyone knew that drinking alcohol in Mecca, when Surah Al-An'am was revealed, everyone knew that drinking alcohol was prohibited. Even before Islam, some of the polytheists knew the evil nature of alcohol, and when they wanted to be pure in their character, they did not drink alcohol. So we cannot say that alcohol was permissible at the beginning and then it was made unlawful and prohibited. As I have explained before, and we have actually discussed different verses which some people say they have come in an order of leniency and growing into harshness and solid prohibition. Anyhow, it's the hadith says when still the khamr was mubah, they drank and they ate and drank until they become drunk. وجاء وقت صلاة المغرب, and the time of Salat al-Maghrib approached. فاقتقدم أحدهم ليصلي بهم. One of them went forth to pray as an imam, and he recited Surah Al-Kafirun, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Instead of that, he said, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. I worship what you worship. Instead of saying, I do not worship what you worship, he said, I worship what you worship. Well, the hadith is, it could be criticized on many aspects, especially that they began praying at home rather than going to mosque or things like that. But anyhow, and the hadith is saying that do not approach mosques, actually, as we will explain later on, while you are drunk. Whatever the case, the hadith is, the verse is talking about some aspects, some evil aspects of drinking alcohol, which would bar a person, blocks a person from understanding what they say in Salat. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى. لا تقربوا الصلاة may mean two things, because usually approaching, going near, may mean, of course, to something, but it's more appropriate to say that it's going near to a place. لا تقربوا الصلاة. Because salat is something you perform or not perform. There's no meaning for getting close to it. But yes, a masjid, it makes sense you not get close to it. So there are two meanings. The two meanings have been suggested for la taqrabu salat. One is that do not pray, do not approach prayer. The other meaning is la taqrabu amakin as-salat, the places of worship, which are mosques. And this is corroborated, supported by the expression which comes afterwards, illa abiri sabilan, except if you are passing by. Well, of course, you cannot say, do not approach salat while you are drunken, except if you are passing by. That's why for illa abiri sabilan, different interpretations have been suggested as well. So, two meanings for la taqrabu salat. La taqrabu salat, do not pray, do not get close to prayer, do not get close to mosques. And this is, as I said, corroborated. لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى إلا عابر سبيل حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا إلا عابر سبيل. And not when you are impure, ritually impure, except while you are passing by, which these two sentences are actually conditioned by إلا عابر سبيل, while you are passing by. And also, salat has been used as places of salat in other verses. For example, in Surah Hajj, وَلَوْلَا دَفْءُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. If it was not for the defense that some people make against others, driving some away by others, then the churches, the synagogues, and salawat, prayers, that means the places of prayers, would have been destroyed, which are mawadu as-salat. So, la taqrabu salat, in different tafasir, this interpretation as mawadu salat, the places of prayer, has been explicitly mentioned. Like, for example, in Al-Baydawi, it says, arada bis salat mawadhi'aha wa hiya al-masajid. By salat, it means the places of salat, which are the mosques. Al-Mizan also says that these are the places of salat. The mosque. Do not get close to mosques. Do not enter mosques while you are drunk. Not only do not enter, even do not approach the mosque while you are drunk. And then the other parts of the verse are mentioned as a witness to that. In Majma' al-Bayan, the same thing is mentioned. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la taqrabu as-salat wa antum sukara, while you are sukara. About sukara, two different meanings have been mentioned, which inshallah we leave that for our next session. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.